Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Across the Park podcast. Hope you're doing well on this Christmas afternoon. Well, we're almost Christmas, the Christmas period. This is our opposition fan preview. So we're delighted to be joined by Chelsea, Chelsea Fan TV and Blue Brother CFC sports journalist. Charlie, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, no, Matt, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, appreciate you coming on. And again, for any followers of our channel, this is obviously a regular feature for us. I believe we've had Charlie on before. If we haven't, we've definitely had someone from Chelsea Fan TV. But again, pleasure to have you, Charlie. And before we get into the preview, for most of our listeners or followers from an Everton persuasion, the biggest news that's hit in the last 24 hours has been the confirmation of the takeover of the Freakin Group of Everton Football Club, which has been a long drawn out saga from the fans' perspective, but thankfully it's been drawn to a conclusion. And you know, I'm fairly optimistic that it's a positive conclusion. So, Charlie, I just want to ask for your take on that. Obviously, you've been involved in I guess some ownership back and forth over the last 2 or 3 seasons. You've recently, or in the last 18 months, been acquired by an American group, certainly a group of American owners. What do you make of the news? And I guess from your perspective as a Chelsea fan, how did you find that transition?
I mean, look, it's great news for Everton fans. As you said, it's been long drawn out process. There's been a lot of, disgruntlement with the current regime. And this is obviously, a welcome boost ahead of the weekend. They're just a welcome boost for the club in general. In terms of what it might mean for Everton, I mean, look, I don't know an awful lot about the Freakins. I know they've got Roma as well, and that's been a little bit chaotic there. They've gone through multiple managers in a very short space of time. They're on their 3rd manager this season already in Claudio Ranieri. I get the feeling when new owners come in, they probably tend to like to install their own man. So I think for Sean Dyche, it could be, I'm not saying like straight away he's going to be gone, but this could be his last season. So I just feel new stadium, they might want to freshen it up, maybe bring someone else in to like spearhead sort of the next phase of Everton. But look, I think, in terms of from a Chelsea perspective, how we found it, obviously the circumstances of the takeover were very different. Of course, we were forced to have to make a change. It was rushed through quicker than what a normal takeover process might be. And look, we had difficulties over the first sort of 1 to 2 years. What happens when you've got a group of people that come in who, yes, they've got a background in sports, but American sports, is very different to football. And there were some teething issues, the mistakes were made, wrong appointments and stuff, mistakes in the transfer market. But having said that now, with what's happening this season, I think we're starting to see the fruits of their labor, and like actually perhaps there was a little bit of a method behind the apparent madness at the time. So I'd probably say, just need to give them a bit of time. There may well be some mistakes made. But of course, these guys have got previous experience in football, so that maybe could be a little bit less likely to happen. But generally, I think it's just a big boost for everyone around Everton.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And just to kind of go back to your point at the start around Sean Dyche, I don't think there's, with the greatest respect to Sean and his team, I don't think it's any secret that this will be his last season at the club. His contract does expire in the summer. And I can't see, and I agree with you, I can't see how the new owners, given I'm sure they'll have ambitions, obviously, to not only take the size of the league, but to maybe try and raise the profile of the club. I'm not sure Sean Dyche, again, with the greatest respect, fits that mould. But we'll get into the actual on the field stuff on now, particularly with yourselves. So, it's fair to say it's been something of a I wouldn't say a breakthrough season, because obviously you're not a club that's been struggling for success over the last 10, 15 years. But as you said, the turnover of players, the turnover of managers, coaches, etc. It would be fair to say a little bit of uncertainty around the transfer strategy has probably overshadowed the last few years. Maresca's coming in the summer. Again, I'm not sure about yourself. I think there would have been a little bit of doubt as to, was it an upgrade on Pochettino, or was it, just, flipping the coin again? But listen, he's done a top job. And, whether it's the timing of those players maybe just, settling in at the club. But listen, there's no two ways about it. It's been a fantastic season for Chelsea so far.
I mean, yeah, it's gone better than any of us Chelsea fans expected. Obviously, the aim this season is to get back into the Champions League. We're well on course for that. There's still a long way of the season to go. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. And yeah, there were doubts, surrounding the appointment, but I think, justifiable doubts as well, because you're appointing someone who very little experience, someone that, one season really in the Championship, and look, did a good job. But if you're being maybe super critical, he kind of did what he was meant to do. He got promoted out of the Championship with the Leicester team, which was arguably pretty much a Premier League squad. But obviously, Chelsea, the directors, the club, and that have seen kind of a vision with him, that he fits the mold of what they're trying to do, of how they like to play. And yeah, he's coming and he's just been a breath of fresh air. He's honest with the media, the way that he speaks. He's not afraid to make big decisions, freeze players out if, they don't, fit what he's looking to do. The way that he's managed the squad has been brilliant as well. And he's managed to instill an identity into the side, a clear style of play. And, he's so tactically tuned in. He's making little subtle changes from game to game, making in-game changes. The substitutions always seem to do the job. And right now, everything he's doing is paying off. And I suppose it's one of those things that, when you're on a good run, everything you do does come off. And I suppose, right now, the position that we're in, with a win on Sunday, we could go top of the league momentarily, with obviously Liverpool kicking off afterwards against Tottenham. So we could momentarily find ourselves top of the league, which, if you'd said that last season, we'd be top even just for a couple of hours or whatever, you would have thought that was still quite a long way away. So yeah, huge credit to him. He's got us playing some really great football. We're enjoyable to watch. We score a lot of goals. And the most important thing is, there's a real connection between the fans and the manager and the fans and the players again. And he's just kind of instilled that feel-good factor back around the club again, because the last 2 seasons, it was difficult. There was a lot of fractures within the fan base. It was not good at atmospheres at games, fans not looking forward to going to the games. And now, everyone's just enjoying it again. I think that for me is the biggest thing he probably deserves credit for.
Yeah, I mean, look, just to go back on your point around just going, or potentially going top of the league, that's definitely a bittersweet potential outcome for us, because it looked for a moment, certainly a few weeks ago, that Liverpool were going to run away with it. But yeah, just on the front of, I guess, the general atmosphere, or from that perspective, to me, it seems to be just as much in the dressing room. You were hearing every week, it seemed, last season, that this player's not happy, that player's not happy. There's 2 dressing rooms because the squad's that big. It seems as though he's been able to flip that narrative to now saying, well, actually, we've got a team in Europe, we've got a team in the league. You've got a lot more players who seem to be happy with their role in the squad, regardless of whether that's in Europe or whether it's in the Premier League. Fair play.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think, the biggest thing in terms of the narrative flipping is, actually, do you know what? It almost feels like, and look, Chelsea fans have been guilty ourselves of, criticising the ownership, not really too sure about the recruitment and kind of the strategy they've gone down. But now you're looking at it, and yes, we are in Europe, but it's almost like we're not, because we're able to play 2 entirely different teams. So, a team that's playing on Thursday, none of those players generally start on the weekend, and any players that might be involved are genuinely on the bench. And yeah, look, it's and you notice now as well, there's nothing negative being said about Chelsea. Over the previous couple of years, as you mentioned, every week there's a negative story coming out. Even over the summer, the squad's massive. Where are all these new signings going to get changed? You've got Jamie Carragher saying, our players have got to stop signing for Chelsea. We're not a young and exciting team. And now he's like, oh, well, actually, they could win the title. And it's like, people just look a little bit silly, sometimes. But, it's Chelsea. It comes with the territory. When you're a big club and you're used to having success and things aren't going well, you are going to be criticised. But I think, looking back now, I think some of that was quite a lot of it was maybe over the top, maybe a little bit too extreme. And now we're finding ourselves in a situation where the media, having heavily criticised us, are now trying to shoehorn us into a title race.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that then, from a fan perspective, you've almost already answered that question. Have the expectations been reset, or is it still look? Although we're having a good season, Champions League is still the ambition, and that's where it remains for now.
Yeah, look, I've got no problem with Chelsea fans that think we're in a title race and are dreaming of the title. That's absolutely fine. We've it's been 2 difficult years. We never thought we'd be in this position. I haven't got a problem with that. But for me personally, it is only December. We're not even halfway through the season yet. There's still a long, long way to go. And the objective for me has always been Champions League football for next season. That's the number one thing. Champions League football, win the Conference League. Let's see what happens in the domestic cups. But if we secure once Champions League football is secured, okay, if we get to sort of March time and we're still in and around in a similar situation where let's say we're within 5 or 6 points at the top of the table come March time, then let's have a rethink about it. Let's have a look and think, do you know what? Maybe we could try and make a push for this, and the expectations might change. But whilst the first objective has not been reached, for me personally, I'm not then looking ahead at putting us as title contenders. I mean, you look at the table and you would have to say, yes, we are, according to the table. But I just still think there's a lot of unknowns of this team in terms of there's not that many winners in there. Still, we've got players that have won stuff at the club. You've got Reece James, who is not available very often. You've got Cucurella, who's won the Euros with Spain, and you've got Enzo Fernandez, who's a World Cup winner. Joao Felix, who doesn't feature that much. He's won a La Liga with Atletico Madrid. But you go around the squad and there's not many players that have won anything during their careers. So, there's still a lack of experience. I think the goalkeeper is still an issue. Defensively, we're nowhere near as bad defensively as what the narrative might make out. We do have the third best defensive record in the league this season still. But there's still a few question marks surrounding that. So, yeah, look, taking it game by game, let's focus on achieving that Champions League football. And then if we get a few months further down the line and we're still in the conversation, let's revisit it then.
Perfect. Well, that brings us on to the game itself at the weekend. So with that in mind, and obviously with the run you're on, but again, I guess bringing it back down to earth, as you just suggested, it's only halfway through the season. You're going to Goodison. Surely, whatever camp you sit in there, this is a game that you're going, we need to go and, we're expecting it. It's the wrong word, but we're certainly, it's a game that you're looking to try and win, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're on a good run at the moment. We're 5 league wins in a row. I think we're 7 in a row in all competitions. Yeah, this is a game that we do need to be winning. We want to be winning. And it's a ground where we've really struggled at in recent years. We haven't got a very good record whatsoever. I know we won 1-0 on the opening day of the season at your place a couple seasons back. But then the time before, like the last win before that, I think you're going back to when Antonio Conte was in charge and we last won the Premier League. We really don't have a good record at Goodison Park. And no matter what the golf inequality between the two sides might be, we found it very difficult going there. So this would be a big win just from a psychological perspective as well, just to kind of, break down that barrier of not having a very good record at Goodison Park. I mean, even last weekend, we beat Brentford and people might say, oh, that's, that's not that big a deal. But that's the first time we've beaten Brentford in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge since they got promoted. Since they got promoted from the Championship a few years back. So, it's just breaking little records down like that. We were able to win away at West Ham. We've not had a good record there. We were able to win away at Wolves this season. We've had poor records there. So, I'm under no illusions that we will be the favourites to win this game. But I'm also fully aware that the record's not good, and this will be very, very difficult. So, the last game we're going to have at Goodison Park before you guys move to the new stadium, the fans are going to be up for it. They always get up for the big games. Everton will be physical. They'll be strong. They'll try and make things difficult. But yeah, look, if we want to finish in the Champions League, if we have aspirations of the title, these are the sort of games that you do need to be winning.
Yeah, I mean, before we touch on how Everton might be able to, get any advantage over Chelsea, I've just got to talk about Cole Palmer. I mean, from an outsider, as a general football fan, it's been a pleasure to see him this year. He seems to get better game by game. He seems to take most things in his stride. He's obviously lacking in the personality department, but that seems to go in his favour. How good is he?
He's outstanding. When we signed him, on deadline day in the summer of 2023, it was kind of met with a bit of a mixed reception. There was obviously people knew that there was ability there, but he wasn't getting much of a look in the first team at City, which, do you know what, doesn't mean you're a bad player by any stretch when you look at the players that were ahead of him. But the impact that he's had has just been beyond what anyone would have expected. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal last season. The question coming into this season was that kind of a one-off? Is he going to be able to repeat that? Opposition are going to be a lot more aware of him. They're going to be, we've seen at times this season, he's been man-marked, he's been doubled up on, but he's still managing to produce the goods. He's got 11 goals and 6 assists in 16 games this season. And we want to be less reliant on him, So if his numbers aren't as good this season as they were last season, I don't look at that as a bad thing, because we want other players to step up and contribute. We want to shift away from that tag that, Chelsea are just kind of Cole Palmer FC like we were dubbed last season. And now with the likes of Sancho, the likes of, Neto, Madueke, Jackson, etc., we've got the supporting cast stepping up. So if Palmer does have a bit of an off day, it doesn't matter because other players are contributing. But yeah, he's just an absolute joy to watch. Everything just comes so naturally to him on the pitch. He doesn't seem to be fazed by anything. And yeah, we're just very, very lucky to have a player like him amongst our ranks. And, at 40 odd million quid, it's looking like, one of the best transfers. I mean, I don't want to go over the top in terms of Premier League history, because it's still, he's not contributed to winning any trophies yet, but it's well on the way to being that.
Oh, listen, I wouldn't argue with that right now, but so yeah, it's a fair statement. And I think, as you've just touched on, then I think it's a greater credit to him this season that he seems to be getting the most out of the players around him. No matter who plays with him, seems to be better when he's on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's had great link up, with Nicholas Jackson. He links up well with obviously Madueke as well, and just that kind of that whole attacking trio or attacking quartet, whatever, how many players we've got on the pitch, everyone's linking up well together and everyone's contributing. So, it's a really nice position to be in, where you're not going into a game heavily reliant on one player and knowing that, he's still the main man, by the way, but I just think there's a bit of pressure has been taken off him because other players are now contributing, and it's not solely down to him to make something happen. So I think that maybe gives him a little bit more freedom as well to just go and do his thing, knowing that the team aren't reliant on him to make stuff happen. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, just want to ask one last question on the Chelsea side of things before we move on to, I guess, how Everton might tackle the game. It's a huge goal. We spoke about that. I think that the one area of the pitch for me that I've been most impressed with Chelsea this year has been the middle of the park, when you've got some outstanding athletes in there, but there still seems to be more players than there are positions in there. What's for you is the best shape and combination of players in that midfield?
Yeah, it's tricky. We've tried all sorts of different things. But I think right now, for me, I think we're just really in a privileged position where with Lavia, Caicedo, and Enzo, it actually almost doesn't matter which combination it is, because they're all doing such a good job. I don't necessarily look at it as like one combination being better than the other. I'm almost at a point. I'm at a point now where I'm like, you know what? I don't mind if it's Caicedo and Enzo, or it's Caicedo and Lavia, or if it's all three of them, because they're all performing to such a high level. I think we've kind of stumbled across a way to get all three of them in when Caicedo plays at right back and then inverts into midfield. That for me is realistically, that for me is the only way that playing all three of them together works. But I think we're in a position now where obviously Caicedo has been absolutely phenomenal this season. Yeah. He's in the team. Enzo Fernandez has now got himself into a position where he's almost undroppable. And then you've got a player of Romeo Lavia's quality who arguably also deserves to be in the team. And it's just a great position to be in, to have these options and to have those decisions to make. Whereas before, maybe lacked options, we've not had players in form. So yeah, the middle of the park has really, really, come on leaps and bounds this season. And I think it just comes down to having a bit more of a structure in there. As under Pochettino, there was so much space between the midfield players. There was such a big gap between the midfield and the defence. Everything just didn't look right. Now we've got kind of a structure and a balance and a manager that's setting the team up to get the best out of the players in it. And we're reaping the rewards of that. So for me, I'm more than happy with any combination of those three playing, or if it's two of them, I don't mind which two it is, because they're all performing to such a top level.
No, fair play. I think it's a fair answer, given that as you've said a few times, when you're winning so many games and things seem to be going right, it is hard to pinpoint where the the weaknesses might be, which is what I'm going to take you on now to now, ironically. So as an Everton fan, and most of our audience watching this will be Evertonians, looking at where we can potentially get at this Chelsea team. Is there any Achilles heel?
I think set pieces, we're still not brilliant at defending those. Balls into the box, we do struggle with. We do lack height and physicality in the back line. Obviously, Marc Cucurella suspended for this game, but Renato Vega will probably come in, and he's actually a sort of a taller, bigger, more physical player. So maybe that actually could work in our favour a little bit in terms of dealing with more of the physical threat from Everton. That's certainly an area where we can be got at. The goalkeeper is a bit of a question mark still. He can have good games and produce brilliant saves, but he's also got a mistake in him. I think playing out from the back, we do still sometimes give up chances that way. But in terms of weaknesses on the pitch, there's not actually that many. And it's been a while since we've kind of been able to say that. So I'd say that for Everton fans, the best bet is just kind of, getting balls into the box, making it really difficult, kind of roughing up the back line and set pieces are, I think, where you'll have your most joy.
I mean, to be fair, that sounds like it's exactly what Sean's Righteous Team Talk is every week.
Yeah, yeah, well, exactly.
So yeah, listen. I think I could probably, as I say, I'm fairly certain I could predict that that's the way we're going to go about things. There's no way we're going to try and play through the thirds. There's no way we'll be playing out from the back very often. It'll definitely be going from back to front. I think they'll hope to try and get the most out of Dominic Calvert-Lewin's pace and physicality. They'll try and get to Corey up alongside him. But I think we're probably going to preview that a little bit more on your channel, and that may be where the content comes out from an Everton perspective. So, Charlie, I ask every away fan this question. Prediction?
I think this will be a close game, but the form we're in and how things are going, I've got to back us. It's always difficult to go against your own team, but I think this will be a close game. I'm gonna go for a narrow 2-1 win.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go 2-2. I think there's a mistake in Sanchez. You haven't quite you did pinpoint that, and I think that we will put a lot of pressure on the weekends. I actually think it'll be one of them where he gets caught between coming out and getting caught in no man's land, where we might get a bit of joy as well. But yeah, fancy us to get a couple. I certainly can't see us keeping you out. I think our goals are probably going to be more fortunate, and as you alluded to, probably from set plays, whereas we're probably going to have to weather a number of storms from yourselves and maybe have to get lucky just to get a draw. But again, I'm the same. I'm not going to back it against us, although I think my football brain is telling me that it's going to be a tough afternoon. But listen, Charlie, as I've just said, then I'm going to be joining you on your channel. And for any Evertonians looking for extra content from the Chelsea side of things, it's Chelsea Fan TV. And we've also got Charlie's tag for his channel in there, which is Blue Brother CFC. So please check them out on YouTube and on Twitter as well. Charlie, I would say best of luck this weekend, but I would be absolutely lying. But genuinely, I hope that you continue to kick on this season. Obviously, I hope that you manage to get the better of Liverpool, which I know is going to be a big ask, but definitely we'll be rooting for you for the rest of the season beyond this game.
Yeah, no, mate. I think me and you would both absolutely love that to deny Liverpool, but yeah, we'll try our best for you. We'll try our best.
Nice one, mate. Well, all the same, Merry Christmas, and I'll catch you on your channel.
No, thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.